I would say that probably the style differs basically because of the philosophy of the writer toward the material. If he is a writer with a sense that what he's writing about finally is ironical, that it is that the human race is hopeless, which is a very possible position, that will affect the kind of style that he's writing in. If he takes things very seriously and he be depressed personally by what he sees, it's more likely going to be a tragic style, and then he will use a different language. He won't allow too much humor into the thing. The other guy will probably write a very funny play because he's making fun of the people. It all depends. The style expresses the philosophy behind the play, the viewpoint of the author toward life. We have marvelous plays written in many different styles. The style itself doesn't tell you whether the play is worthwhile or it isn't. One of the best writers for the theater was well, in England, for example, there's Noel Coward, who wrote these seemingly trivial comedies, but they're beautifully written and they're beautifully made. Well, that's his viewpoint. Oscar Wilde, who was a man who had a right to be very bitter about life. You know, he died, he was in prison, all that. But he took his vengeance by being very acute about people, very satirical about them. That's his style. It all depends on the viewpoint toward life of the writer. Well, after a while, one gets tired of everything. Whatever style it is, it gets boring after a while. In the arts, if it's the same thing all the time, then there's no reason to go see it. So, in the theater, in playwriting, logic is extremely important because the audience has to believe the reality of whatever they're looking at. And this means that it has to be consistent in some way. The great logician was probably, in the old days, was somebody like Ibsen. But Chekhov was also logical in the sense that everything followed in an order for him. Now we have a style of theater which came out of World War I, really, of surrealism, which reflected the destruction of Europe in the First World War and the destruction of philosophical systems, which turned out to be useless because the continent practically destroyed itself with all this philosophy. It didn't matter. Once again, in the Second World War, we had the same destruction. So what this does is it affects the arts who celebrate illogic, who celebrate the fact that we can't understand everything. And this, of course, creates styles in the arts, in the theater and painting, rest of it. It all breaks up. It fragments.